Hey Jeremy, thanks for sending me up all the updates. Hope you had a fun time in Puerto Rico, and now we can get to work on kind of the next phase. So, um, as an overall goal of getting the transition a little bit better and a little bit freer during the release, I'd say that you did some good work. So hopefully it's kind of settled in a little bit, because what I want to focus on now is the backswing, because that'll relate to kind of the ease of what we're trying to do on the downswing. So now that you have these goals of what you want to do on the downswing, hopefully we can shift focus while still retaining that those moves or kind of that essence while you're working on the backswing. So I'll bring up one of your kind of older swings, but the general thing is I want your body to propel your arms into position, so a little bit more lower body driven backswing as opposed to just trying to get the arms and the club in the proper position. All right, so some of these things are a little tricky to show on video, but basically what should happen is your lower body pushing against the ground will kind of start the club swinging, and then that swinging of the club should continue, and your arms just have to fold to bring the club up into position. From the arms perspective, you'll tend to see in the swing you sent from Puerto Rico, you'll tend to see a little bit more arm dominated motion, and you'll tend to see the arms getting a little bit too deep compared to where you had them before. So let me kind of scrub through those. So you'll see how the knees are in the feet. The knees are probably the easiest reference point for being able to see this, but you see how the knees are kind of swinging the club. Like the arms aren't doing a whole lot during that takeaway phase. Here, you'll see that the arms start working and pulling the club in before the knees really get going. So a feeling like the arms and the hands aren't dragging the club inside, but the knees are actually, or the feet is probably where you'll actually feel it, would be initiating the takeaway. Then once you get to about this point here, the club should be able to just ride that momentum and fold up a little bit more vertically. So that way when you do your drop, it's not so much from the inside. When your arms get kind of pulled inside with the takeaway, and then you do that really good drop, it can get you a little bit underplane, which gives you that path miss out to the right. So the goal will be to feel the body kind of leading the backswing and just kind of the arms carrying that momentum from the lower body, as opposed to the arms trying to position the club in a perfect backswing movement. Because what ends up happening is what you're doing right now, it's a little out of sync in the backswing. And so you can see your lower body during that whole phase there is just kind of waiting, right? So it's kind of like lower body not doing nothing. Now it has to start, almost like a cold start. Where what you'll see here is, notice how the lower body, because it's driving the movement, there's no real time where it's really waiting. It's just kind of, if you're watching this and this, you'll see that the lower body is driving the whole backswing, and then it changes direction and that starts the swing. There's no real pause, which is a time where you can get into some timing issues, especially under pressure. It'll be easier to see from the face-on view, so we'll take a quick look at that. Okay, so from the face-on view, you can see that left knee and right knee, you can see kind of their activity as they're swinging the club in this backswing. Right, I'll just scrub back and forth a few times, but you can see how much lower body action you have to swing the club. Now when we fast forward, you can see a lot more passive and kind of slow movement as the lower body kind of swings the club. So watch that right knee, and you'll see that there's a little movement during takeaway, and then it just kind of glides to the top of the swing. And you compare that to a little bit more kind of aggressive lower body movement happening here. That's part of what's gotten us in trouble in the transition is if there's no, and I filmed the video, but I won't have it up by the time you see this, but it'll probably be up next week. If there's no momentum of the lower body, then there's nothing for the glutes to really resist against. So since there's nothing for them to resist against, you're not building a stretch shortened. So what ends up happening is if the lower body just moves slowly, the arms are loaded, and that kind of triggers the shoulder to want to unload, as opposed to if the body moves a little quicker than the arms, then the lower body, the hips, the core gets loaded, and that'll make you want to, do that step and power the movement in transition a little bit easier. So I still want to keep working on the transition. It's just going to take a little bit of a backseat to syncing up the body pivot in the backswing and getting the arms a little bit more vertical. That combination should help allow what you've been trying to train with the body-driven transition, a little bit more motorcycle, and really good arm extension release mechanics, should make that whole thing a little bit easier. So good job. Keep me updated. Let me know how practice goes, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll get that video about the backswing up probably on Saturday.